Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the reigning World Champion Terran, the Protoss in the blue. We have Clem. Up against the Polish Terran in the red, it is Spirit. In a best-of-5 Terran versus Protoss semifinals on the new StarCraft 2 balance patch, where we have no time for these cheesy introductions, and instead I must do a cheesy segue into begging you for likes and maybe even subscribes. And Jimmy, quickly! Yes, it's a proxy... 1,495 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And while Clem is proving he's probably going to be able to play random better than anyone else can play the game at all, I'll likely do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get a little bit better than this probe, who may actually be able to make it out. There's an engineering bay block on Clem's side. Eventually the Marine will hunt it down. A Zealot is put out from the gateway in the main. It's a second gate, not a Max Packs build, somewhat ironically considering Clem's usual opponent. But Clem, there are $3,000 on the line in this tournament. Then again, for Home Story Cup, there was even more than that, and that didn't stop him from playing Protoss in the finals. So it's gone from a fad to a trend, and one might even dare say a strategy. As Spirit, his strategy is to turtle up and make sure Clem can't get much done on his side of the map. Amygdala is where we're starting things off in game one. A second barracks is on the way. Spirit trying to interrupt Clem's build, but apparently Clem more than happy to interrupt it and swerve into something much more aggressive. Actually completes the shade up to the high ground. Marines looking to intercept that adept if possible. There are two stalkers and an adept, so with the shade providing temporary yet meaningful vision, he might be able to take down the supply depot. A Zealot as well. This is... yeah, that's the guy. Adept gets in, sees a second barracks. Did he actually see the second... Yeah, he saw the second command center as well. Very, very important. But he's going to be able to nail it down. Spirit with a low-tech and high-pressure sort of tank push. And I think there's literally no one more qualified to figure out what's going on than our Protoss player here, who, well, his experience in beating down Protoss gives him a unique perspective. The first siege tank slams it home. Shade, gonna provide some extra vision. The command center trying to land under duress, wants to get that orbital command started, and with the siege tank to protect, it looks like Clem will be driven back for now, but Spirit has no knowledge, despite having the watchtower. Clem specifically put the proxy gate close enough to support, but out of vision as well. And he may actually try to drag the tank shots in with the adept. Spirit retargets well, and will force the stalkers back for now. And that SCV at the watchtower, giving him a false sense of security. It's going to be charge out of Clem, looking to break the front door down even before Blink Stalkers usually would. Actually, because of the early game, both sides are slightly delayed on the tech. Usually Blink would be kicking in right around now. But here we are. Third Nexus is on the way as well, so Clem going to keep that aggressive defense up. I think we can assume whatever Clem ends up doing as Protoss is what would trouble him the most in the same position as Terran. And this sort of always in your face, constant gateway unit harass seems to be the ticket to keep the pressure on. There's a single bunker, some supply depots being put up in order to funnel as many of the units past it as possible. Nothing trips up charge lots like minor obstacles. Same with Colossi as well. They share a surprising amount of weaknesses. Third base on the way. Blink as well to follow it up. Spirit is likely assuming Blink to be done at this point. He's going to be a little surprised to see the charge lots. I think he caught a glimpse of him there. The SCV, well, getting that scouting information he couldn't while at the watchtower. Observer on the way across, and now that he's been spotted, Clem is mostly backing off. The Zerg rocks have almost bled out on the field, which is the only iteration of Zerg I think we'll be seeing today. But, in Spirit. Well, maybe not. I don't think infested Terrans are in the game, so. Blink halfway there. Clem thought he could crush an early tank push. If Spirit had gone for that kind of Clem style, 1 tank, like 1 medevac, 8 marines sort of deal, he may have been able to just completely slice it to pieces. But instead, it's the Stalkers who are getting gunned down. 4 of them before Blink, thus demonstrating why Blink is such an incredibly necessary upgrade. Gets almost all 5 Stalkers for minimal losses. Another medevac full of marines. There were only 2 sentries to try to tickle it down. Now actually dropping out. A bit optimistic with even any limited anti-air. There's clearly not enough to deal with it. The proxy pylon was spotted, and now will be taken out. Can't have those zealots backstabbing in. Blink now completed for Clem. The warp gate count has grown. 6 of them done so far. Adding on more, plus 1 ground attack for both sides. With Spirit a little bit ahead on the +1 infantry weapons. His army moving out towards the north. Gonna be working around that top path towards the 3rd. And Clem blinks back. Does he have enough charge lots to deal with this? He has charge lots in the natural, though, which will undercut the economy significantly. Meanwhile, grabbing the army out of the field, the force fields... mediocre at best, but will force Spirit back. And most importantly, this battle is happening outside of the base. 4 SCVs dead. He's dropping mules while there's no more units to defend. The charge lots, another force field will force the zealots around it. Widow mines are drawn in, most of the zealots taken out. But back at home, the SCVs are being eviscerated by the side blades. Finally, the zealots are cut down, but 14 SCVs slaughtered, and Spirit didn't make any headway on the field. Clem still had enough units out there, and he took advantage of the distraction of the charge lots in order to maximize his ability to fight the army head-on. Now, there's still the medevacs, but if you don't have that critical mass of bio, then the zealots will cut you apart. Usually, players like Clem rely on always having that critical mass, so you can't really engage. But Spirit is in a tough position. He can't stay back defensively because Clem is outscaling him economically. But if he goes forward, he's risking it all as well. That's a lot of medevacs. He could threaten to pick up and get into the main. Meanwhile, a warp prism just phases in inside of the main base. The Widow Mines might be able to take it out. Charge lots clean up. Widow Mines, as well as Vikings, take out the prism. 8 more SCVs dead. Force fields are good. Lock in the Marines and slice them up. A Marauder as well. Blink Stalkers knock a medevac out of the sky. And Clem has opened up a 30 supply lead. Still chasing him down. He's not done with him yet. But he may have to be as he goes over the top of those golden minerals. But the rocks on the sides are opened up, and the path could be widened further. And he decides to just go around. There's an observer nearby somewhere. It's in the main base, just very slightly out of turret range. Not enough Stalkers in order to take out the orbital command, but the SCVs aren't so lucky. BioArmy stimming back to defend his Spirit, getting more and more desperate. Almost takes out, even specifically targeting Marauders at this stage. Looking to turn around again, and those units in autumn colors. The Marines and Marauders, the medevacs do have energy, they just exasperated for time. The Marines and Marauders have been moving around and stimming so much, he hasn't been able to heal them up. So he's not at full fighting strength, hits another stim, another force field comes through. Widow Mines will backstop. Viking taken out almost incidentally, but a very deliberate action out of Clem. Another force field, Immortal targeted down. Marauders still helping out a lot, but the Immortals are absolutely necessary. And just as the sentries are getting popped, the Colossus breaks onto the field, but Clem may have overestimated his position. All the robo units are taken out. The Marines and Marauders continue to grind their way through, but charge lots back at home will drive him back. If he could focus all his efforts on micro, the BioArmy is almost unbeatable. But with charge lots continually coming in and gutting the economy, Spirit is unable to focus his efforts. He keeps dropping mules right where the charge lots can get a hold of him. The SCVs will clean up the little bit of HP left over, but Liberators now spotted on the field. Clem still kiting back. Another Colossus shows up to the party. Terrans are not happy, but Terrans don't go to parties anyways. Meanwhile, charge lots continue to be warped in on both sides. 8 gates, but he's using all of it. Liberators coming up. Anti-air severely limited. There's only 3 Stalkers and no Colossi back at home to defend. And suddenly Spirit is starting to overrun the field. Where's the rest of the reinforcements? The pylon is taken down. Those units probably hoping they weren't even warped in at all. Liberator takes a big hit. +2 weapons done. Will help with some of the micro here, but Spirit is at 15 SCVs, but he's got 53 army supply against just 30 of Clem. It's do or die, but with mules back at home, he still has something resembling an economy. Blinks in. Force field's good. Another Liberator misses the mark. Another Liberator moving forward. Clem, he needs to buy as much time as possible, but the Terran army is grinding through. The Marine count is whittled down. The Medevac's finally out of energy. The Liberators are pushing the point home as the overlapping leapfrog of freedom may be enough to boil Clem's frog as quickly as possible. But probes are pulled off the 3rd base, and suddenly without the Liberators, there's almost nothing underneath. Almost knocks down. Actually, I take it back. He knocks down the Medevac. And Spirit, he pushed all the way back to the natural. But now, he has almost no home to go back to. 15 SCVs. He's pumping out Marines and Marauders, but Clem has sentries. Colossi. GG. Clem holds on for game number 1, but it looked quite dicey there by the end. He committed so much to the counterattacks. I think he was even surprised by how fragile that Protoss army was. How quickly that Spirit was able to dive on everything with the Marines and Marauders. And he should know better than most how dangerous they are, but I'm telling you from both sides, it happened so quickly. Even Clem not quite anticipating it. Though at the end of the day, it was the counterattacks and the economic damage that made the difference. There's only one player in the world who is routinely capable of multitasking multiple groups of Marines and Marauders at once. And he's abandoned the Terrans for this series. He'd rather beat the Terrans with Protoss than have to play against them with Terran. I truly, you know, many players, I think the majority of players are not huge fans of playing mirror matchups. They are strategical, but they do feel a little like if you're being generous, a poker hand, and less generous, a coin flip. Now, obviously, that's not the case. Micro still means a lot, but not nearly as much as non-mirror matchups. Like, give Clem... It appears Clem has chosen to micro Blink Stalkers over Cyclones and Reapers against Terran in this sort of scenario. And I think he knows, I hope he knows, how big a deal it is for the fans. Because if there's anything people like less than watching Protoss versus Terran, it's watching Clem beat Protoss with Terran or mirror matchups. Like that's the scale of it. Engineering Bay block yet again for Spirit. Prioritizing, slowing down Clem's build, and ooh. Now what does he do? Does he take the 3rd? Because that Engi Bay is almost done. He got as much as he wanted out of it. Thinking about coming back in. Now, would you Engi Bay block a 2nd base? I think he would. He just wasn't quite in position for it. The charge slots actually ended up backfiring. I love that direct demonstration of why it's always Blink. Not some of the time, it is always Blink. Because when you don't go Blink, the Stalkers are chased down by almost an equal number of Marines. It is exceedingly sad. But with the Blink Stalkers, it looks plausible, if not strong, in the right hands. The charge lots are a sledgehammer. But they're a sledgehammer wielded by a brutish protagonist that you can easily slip out of the way of. Whereas the Blink Stalkers are more of a scalpel. They get you when you're not looking and do critical damage. Sure. That's the kind of samples in my life. Moving on. Surgical strike taking on a whole nother meaning. Adept. Gonna make the Marines somewhat uncomfortable. One of them at 1 HP. That's why sometimes you'll see players bring in a probe to just lightly tase any of the early units, Marines or SCVs, for this exact scenario. Because, of course, Adepts and Oracles were nerfed to not kill Marines and SCVs in 2 hits. Quite a long time ago early on. Legacy of the Void is going on 10 years. Which is about the same time Clem started playing SC2. The age of 10 years. Now, he's been playing for more than half of his life. He's, what, 21, 22 now? Not sure if he started playing with Wings of Liberty, but I'm gonna assume so. Just not quite at the professional level. Hellions just kind of run by. This is like 60, 70, we'll go upper 69% of the reason you decide to run by early on. So at 420, you can blaze your way into a nice position with those Hellions, give or take. There's just no way to defend both the main and the third reliably from the Hellions. I'm sure Clem is aware of that. He was probably anticipating defending the main just a little bit better. I think a single Stalker on hold position on the ramp can actually block them, but just slightly not there. Stalkers still zoning out. Zone defense is the name of the game, especially when your zones are so spread out. Now the Warp Prism, as well as Blink on the way. A Banshee with Cloak in production. Well, would be if Spirit wasn't supply blocked, unfortunately. But the Cloak Banshee is a deadly threat, even with observers. If your Blink Stalkers are committed on the other side of the map, could easily rack up another half dozen kills. Oh, there is one Banshee complete. It was the second one. That was supply block. Blink chasing down those Hellions. Automaton hanging out. Meanwhile, Warp Prism will be the high ground vision. Clem has enough to warp in 2 or 3 more Stalkers. Banshee headed straight towards the main. There's no shield battery, which means absolutely no defense for this Banshee right as Clem comes in. The engineering bay, part of the bulwark here. Clem sees the Banshee and the Hellions. A bit of indecision. He could actually kill the tech. Oh no! Critical architectural mistake out of Spirit. This would be a resounding victory for him if he didn't just lose Stim Pack. But because of it, there's a dream of turning this around at the moment. As Clem takes out the Banshee in the main, the Hellions up to 11 kills. The shield battery ran out of energy a while ago. If only there was some way to charge it even more strongly. But 15! He's chasing down the Banshee at the front, but it looks like Clem will be in a very similar scenario to his opponent in the previous game. His economy almost completely gutted, losing 16 probes. He has 3 bases to replace them, but for quite a while he's going to be stuck on this gateway tech. He has charge on the way, he has blink done, but a forge just started. A robo bay is a distant dream. More gateways? Unlikely. He needs to get that economy back, but the problem is there's going to be Stim, Combat Shield, and +1, and even though he delayed that Stim a bit, it's still going to line up very nicely for the triple threat timing. The starport reactor almost completed. Charge will be done, but Clem has a lot of catching up to do. Yeah, Spirit's going to have a very dangerous push timing, and there isn't going to be any splash damage. Like, even if Clem's able to hold, the Bio Army just is too good. That's why you need splash damage eventually. At some point, you just can't beat it with conventional means. 7 more gates. Well, he's going with the sledgehammer again. 7 more gates. That'll bring him up to 10. Anything over 8 is clearly indicating, I want production, and I want it now. It's my production, and I want it now. Call your local gateway dealer. Or warp gate dealer nowadays. You know, get with the times, old man. Going to try to intercept some of the tanks. Blunk's on 1. Will get it. Great pickoff to start. Keeps all the Stalkers alive. Down to 2 tanks with the push, but Spirit realizes they might need to be on escort duty. Brings them up into the medevac. Though, there's an opportunity. That actually is the worst case scenario. Spirit may have just handed Clem a victory. There was a narrow path to defeat through the gaping chasm of victory, and Spirit just articulately navigated it. The one thing he needed to not do was lose his medevacs and tanks, especially a medevac with tanks in it. Yet here we are. Now, that doesn't bring Clem into a winning position, but it certainly opens up the map. Without the siege tanks to hold things down, Spirit is immensely more vulnerable to this sort of army. And now, population Troubled Town. No, Troubled Town, population Spirit. Something like that. I botched that joke almost as hard as Spirit botched that tank push. But that's a lot of bio. Does he have a second robo? No. There's still going to be a lot of terror. Whoa! Missile turret. Almost takes out the prism. The sentry. Guardian shield attempted. Throws out a force field, but the Terrans are crossing the bridge. Really wishes he had a... Oh, wait, he does. Though... yeah, well, fun fact, these bridges are apparently about 1.3 force fields wide. Who knew? Charizard somehow slipped in behind again. Clem quick on the draw there, but maybe too quick because the army can come back and defend easily. Clem building his first Colossus now. A bio army still, an existential threat. He has very little other force multipliers. He's just going to have to engage straight up. Spirit has finally made his way across the map. The medevac's in an awkward spot, though. Thing is, Widowmines are already burrowed. Pylon taken out. No warpins in this location. Half the charge lots cut off. More reinforcements knocking things out. And a 40 supply lead for the Terran as he's tearing things up. And the Protoss will be forced to retreat. The autumn-colored bio-army force fields are good, but the Colossus just a little bit too late. And at that point, it might as well have been never. A clear select-all-army prism. More force fields, and the Colossus just tramples them. This army he just can't stop stimming. That might be the only saving grace for Clem, is that it seems like, oh, a single Marauder! Try to take out the Colossus at 1 HP! The game at 1 HP! Both sides know. Wow, it lives! And with it, hope. Now, if only Clem could call some of his SCVs in to repair, but unfortunately, it wasn't just the army. He also lost a whole bunch of probes. He does not have any sort of real tech advantage. It's +2 ground weapons against 1-1 for the Terrans. He's down 13 workers. So he may have won a Pyrrhic victory with that Colossus. But right now, his game is on 1 HP as well. It's going to take another Fighter 3 like that in order to bring Clem back. Spirit, stop with the stims, bro. Alright, just say no. Okay. Just because all your friends are doing it doesn't mean you need to do it too. That's a bad habit for most Terrans. Stimming your Marauders to chase down that Warp Prism. Mm-hmm. We've all been there. These medevacs are stressing out. A lot of them got picked off. He's back up to 4 now. 2 of them sent out. Double drop. Don't believe it was spotted. The third base completely undefended. Pylon was rebuilt, but didn't have much more time for it. The Zealot's being sent out as he knows the map is dark and full of Terrans. The Colossus count 2 going on 3. He didn't get extended thermal lance. Oh no, social distancing, very important when interacting with Terrans. And without extended thermal lance, he has to get far too personal. But the double drop, the probes will be able to escape. As Clem actually manages to take a decent fight, the Colossus just tumbles. A ghost is on the field. And Clem wins a small battle. But the drops ensure that Spirit maintains control of the war. Extended thermal lance almost done, but Spirit has 4 bases. He's got ghosts. He's got Vikings. How many there's only 4 stalkers, which are probably the best unit for putting together some sort of comeback with Blink Stalkers to pick off medevacs and such. Oh, the 4th base, okay. Canceled just when 3 Zealots show up. Yeah, now that, there ain't no kill like overkill, eh? Even throws a snipe on. Okay, they're dead. Ooh, speaking of, the Zealots eager to join in glorious battle. And here we are. Colossi stepping down. Stalkers blinking up. Vikings in position. Good swipes on the Colossi, really helping out. But they just can't deal with it. There's too many of them. We cannot get out. They are coming. Clem tabs out. We're all tied up 1-1. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is from Hupsaiya's Dumpster Cup, where all the trash gets together to play. Actually, over $3,000 prize pool. Link should be in the description. The further versions of this cup, which is very interesting for reasons we're about to show. We're actually doing new maps. This is what, if I was putting together a tournament, maybe soon enough, I would do as well. But at least a couple maps that we haven't seen 500 times before. And this is an old Team Liquid map contest finalist, Star Child. So shout out to Hupsaiya for enforcing that. I believe a couple maps of the new map pool are just replaced with these. I'm not sure if they're required to be played in the series or not. I haven't seen enough series yet. But honestly, I'd be fine with game 1 of every series being on the new map of the month or something like that. If we're not going to be able to get it from Blizzard, somebody has. So I'm in full support of this motion. And what I fully expect is the players will cheese the anger. Was this played as game 1? Oh, it may have been game 1. I'm not sure. Jimmy! Sorry. I wanted to play greedy anyway. So Spirit is doing a 1-Rex expand, which you usually don't do against Protoss, because they can ruin your day. And it seems like Spirit probably would have tried to engineering bay block. That's what he means. Instead of engineering bay blocking your natural, I'll build a command center on mine. But like I mentioned, I'm in full support. And as soon as we get more info on this particular tournament, if that's going to continue to be the trend, I'll make sure you guys have it as well, if you want to support it. If you got the means and motivation, of course. Now, this one seems to have come down to Clem picking Protoss and Spirit not. Now, this is not something that happens very often. I've gone over the implications. So, while it's only Clem and maybe Raynor, we don't have an issue. It's if players get good enough that all of them are picking a certain race. Like, for example, if Spirit wanted to play Zerg against Protoss and Clem wanted to play Terran against Zerg, I think blind pick. I'm in favor of blind pick, as in we know the map, and then what race would you like to play? What race would you like to play? And that's what they play out. An admin or something determines it. Zealot walking up. Partially demonstrating another reason why we don't usually see the 1-Rex expand on the low ground, but he didn't even build a Reaper. Just cancels the bunker. Okay, this has just been upgraded from bad to worse. Well, Command Center won't be canceled. There is already a Twilight on the way. The Hellion should help out, but Clem has already finished his natural. A second Adept. This is troubling. Spirit's build pretty severely thrown off because the Command Center is supposed to be your next depot or two. So he's actually supply blocked right now, though I think Clem's about to help him out with that a bit. Because The command center should have been part of the... Okay, so this isn't going to be the best demonstration of our new map. Or old map. This is actually from a couple map contests ago. Did he just lose the game? This happens to me on the ladder all the time. Even down to the forgetting their Protoss and one racks expanding instead of doing something aggressive. Well, he's not dead, but Clem is going to have Blink done before Spirit... Gee, okay. I choose to believe that was intentional as well. Just game. Spirit taps it out. Clem's up 2-1. The old surprising pick Protoss. Very likely that was game 1 of the actual series, apparently. Okay. Is this game 2 or game 4? We're going to another new map. I think Spirit should be aware that Clem is Protoss yet again. He seems committed the whole series. He's not switching between. Talisman. Interesting. I don't think this one was submitted. A shark. Not a space shark. Just a regular, like, water shark. Let's see if there's any... A mixed base here. Is that one of those mineral paths? So, you can mineral walk through this. Or something. I forget exactly how it works. It's a worker-only path. Something we're testing out. Or I thought we were testing out, but then we didn't add any maps with that to the pool, but... I want to see someone use it. I need to know. Half HP rocks. Rich Vespine base. What I'm noticing about this is we can have crazy bases without all of them being instantly tank pushable. That is my pet peeve on all the new creative maps. It feels like they were designed for siege tank pushes to always succeed. In the last few map pulls on the ladder, at least. But here, clearly more open, with less obvious locations. Spirit. Going to one racks expand again. No Zealot on the way for Clem. I love the simple look of the map as well. Like, well, one, that's better on the FPS. And two, it's bright, but not overdone. A very important thing in map making that was described to me by Avex, who won several map contests and had a bunch of his maps on the ladder. The tile set. Notice how each level of the map is a distinctly different tile set. Most of the most memorable maps have this, where you can kind of tell where you are without even looking at the minimap. So, you know, like your average gold leaguer. But you just have this instinctual feeling, and it adds both to the strategy, the visibility, and it's more of a show don't tell situation. That's why I'm not a huge fan of those, like, slapping rocks down in every location or making mineral walls in really awkward spots. Not exactly the same thing, but clearly an example of show don't tell. And it seems our map maker, I want to say based on the name it's Patches, but I'm not 100%. I should have had that information before. I forgot we were going to be having some new maps. But that's sort of kind of almost like graphic design philosophy. Also important in thumbnails. Take a picture. Why is there a probe killing an SCV in the main? Oh! 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 I don't know why it does it like that, but it takes the worker path. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Okay. So he gets in and he gets out, and he almost got away with murder. But, okay, Spirit coming across. We're fighting in the vision blocker here. Using the shade to provide vision in the trees, or seaweed, or whatever it is. What do we got? Medevac on the way. 2 more barracks for Spirit as he spools up for that triple threat timing. Going to be a classical Widow Mine drop to kick things off. Is that a tech lab? Yeah, probably gonna flip it over. The engineering bay out at the front. And that's just a crab. It's a crab beetle. Alright. Half beetle, half crab. All sex appeal. Yeah. Edit that out. I have a weird day today. New maps, new me. Widow Mine drop going out over the water. The fish, hungry, but won't be fed quite yet. Wow, those actually managed to make some realistic looking fish. Oh, the crab beetle has made it into the main base, getting closer. Lulled in. 2 bunkers, though. Blocks it on top of the tank, just goes for it. Meanwhile, Mine Drop Clem reacting very quickly, handles it well. Adept has a bad time of things. I don't think he has vision of that high ground. The rocks are actually blocking. Can take him down pretty quick, but he has to go all the way around or go through. A very specific positioning on those rocks. I don't mind Medevac not coming in for more, but so far Spirit handling this well. I think it's pretty clear Clem doesn't actually know. I kind of doubt either of these players has played the map before today, knowing pro gamers, but we have to force them into it via the ladder in tournaments. That's usually the methodology. Forge and charge on the way. Clem favoring that sledgehammer style, carving open or smashing open an opportunity for the Colossi to be a potential finishing move. The most even mid-game so far, it feels like. As Clem, not taking a lot of damage, but not able to do critical damage with the Blink Stalkers either. He could easily blink over the rich mineral field. Gonna go for the tech lab, which is already finished with stim and combat shield. Now he wants to get out. Waiting for the cooldown on blink. Gets out, loses a couple stalkers. The Marines and Marauders. Oh my god, he loves stimming. At least he only stimmed like half of them now. Though might be regretting that decision. The Medevacs, another stim with the other half. Alright, the changing of the guard. Clem doing a great job of keeping things busy. Siege tanks with vision via scan. Observer moves into position, sidesteps the scan, or slides over to the side. So Clem knows what's coming, and he knows exactly when those tanks are going to unsiege. The Stalker's unfortunately not in position to pick them off, but can shave away maybe a few of the Marines. Charge lines being warped in, and the boys! The boys are on their way across the wide open center lane here on Talisman. Oh, and against the non-splash, this might actually be a great call. And you can't kill your SCVs if you don't have any. Professional tip. And once the boys arrive, Clem actually redirects everything. Because he knows that it's all about this. The tanks, Zealots eating some of the shots. Force Fields tries to lock him into his own base. Unfortunately, doesn't quite nail it. The SCVs are stuck killing a robo, but it doesn't matter. Spirit has more than enough to run the table. And Spirit will tie up the series 2-2. Clem not as infallible as Protoss as he is as Terran. But we've got a series on our hands. Let's see, do we have a new map for Game 5? No, we're going to ley lines. It will all be decided. Assuming Spirit doesn't get into the corner and force a draw or something again. I'm very much... I love the inclusion of the new maps. Or, I guess new in terms of the map pool. I really feel like that is one of the more interesting parts of Brood War as well. that since it hasn't gotten a balance patch or a real update in longer than Clem's been alive, it balances through maps. Each tournament has like its own maps and own version. I don't follow too closely, but that does seem like the most interesting way to change things up and affect balance without constantly tweaking numbers that may or may not actually affect anything. The thing is, we, the royal we, as tournament organizers, have the ability to do that. Okay? There's nothing stopping you from putting on a tournament and saying, you have to play game 1 on this map, or this is the map pool. Now, pro gamers won't like it, but pro gamers are part of the reason we have maps that look like a reskin of the same thing for the last 10 years. So, unfortunately, there are some distinct advantages, especially, well, Protoss and Terran, to an extent, are more favored by new maps, by things that we haven't seen before. Because Zerg is the reactionary race, right? And Zerg, overall, outside of some very notable and high-performing players, is almost entirely absent. For example, in this tournament, there were, in the top 32 of notable players, there were 20 Protoss, 8 Terrans, and 4 Zergs. That's about the average makeup of everything but the top of Premier tournament. So, that is the only concern with adding in new maps left, right, and center, but I think the important part is to remember that new and creative maps don't necessarily mean making tiny choke points with like mineral walls and stuff. There's a lot of options. Like the worker paths, healing shrines or something that we tested and actually were added to some maps, but then ended up not in tournaments. Let's get creative. And that's the way to do it. Like and subscribe. Even if you disagree, but have strong opinions and think this is a subject. If you have the opinion, it should all stay the same and we should continue to reskin the same 2 maps as much as possible. Well, then why are you still here? Well, you're like, because I'm watching the same match. Yeah. He's going to go Blink against, well, interestingly, a Reaper for the first time. But he's going to go Blink against an early tank push with 3 racks. He's going to try to end the game quickly, and if he doesn't, shave off as much of the bio as possible. And then struggle his way up to Colossi while the medevacs continue to enable the habit of the stimming Marines and Marauders. Yes, of course it's going to happen, but the details matter. Okay. And here we are. What are the details this time around? A single Hellion, Widowmine behind. Reaper will poke its way in. Might even be able to kill a probe. Maybe continue through for a scout. There's actually no vision of the high ground. Very interesting Clem doesn't go for a Reaper wall. Now this map is kind of hard to do so, but I don't believe he's Reaper walled on any map. What? It might be because he knows Spirit. Spirit, this is like the first time he went for a Reaper. Just a single Reaper scout. But, wow. Doubling back. And actually might be able to kill the probe on the 3rd, but finally gets taken out. Widowmine burrowing. Widowmine drop coming in. Oh, and Adept shades up to the high ground. In an awkward scenario now, Hellion being chased down, should be taken out. Widowmine drop heading in. Bio units, and by that I mean a bunch of Marines hunting down the Adept. Picks off one of them. Raven in production. Adept doesn't quite make it. Widowmine drop. Oh, gets out of range. He has an observer as well. Blink, not quite there. A little on the later side this game. Usually blink between 4:45 and 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Raven is completed. Got to hand off the add-on to the barracks and work towards that bio push. Meanwhile, Clem almost entirely pinned back by these early starport units, by the medevac with the Widowmines, and it's going to be a Raven heading out as well. There's a Stalker patrolling, anticipating something just like this. Technically, Spirit hasn't scouted the third Nexus. Now, Clem sent out a probe that the Reaper killed that looked very much like he would build a third Nexus, but he doesn't know for sure, so he still has to be very careful. Was the Raven spotted? It will be spotted by the Spylon, but gonna slap down an auto turret in the midst of everything. Medevac drop, Widowmine drop, still waiting for its moment. Observer, moment has ended. Triple threat on the way. Dim combat shield +1. Clem at 60 probes, 6 more gates on the way. No Robo Bay yet. I say yet because very likely that's where we're headed. But Clem really focused on that brute force style. Widowmine drop behind the mineral line. Great reaction. Tries to retarget. This is awkward, but okay. Okay, well. Unfortunate the Zealots couldn't really get out of the way of that one, but picks off a couple Marines. Warping in some more homes. Still no Robobay. Really focused on maintaining that level of production. I love how he's blinking away by the time the projectiles that will kill the Marine are headed out. Very cinematic. Raven at the back of the base, but the Stalker's unable to get in position in time. Widowmine drop, triple timing. Very well set up here by Spirit, but Clem! The force fields lock some of them in, and without the Marines on the field, there's not that much damage out here, but the Immortal... Marauder pokes in, knocks it out. 4 probes dead. I believe mostly to the auto turret on the Raven. Clem holds on to his third. Spirit is able to extract from the location without losing too much for now. Stimming yet again to escape. Third command center about to complete. Robobay just started for Clem. The Protoss army has chased the Terrans to their end of the map. They will be able to join up with reinforcements for now. Stalker's still looking for kills. Gets another Marauder. Just some very... Oh. Really doesn't want to risk blinking onto that medevac. Clem has stopped right around 63 probes. So 3 base economy, but not much more. Well, actually, not quite even that, but... He's not mining gas. He's only got... He's just now taking a 4th gas geyser at the 3rd base. So really spreading it out. Meanwhile, charge lots as well as Stalkers, but force fields... He might be able to turn this into a decent fight with some more force fields. And Spirit actually locked behind. Knocks out 1 medevac. Clem making the most of every opportunity. 1 Widowmine still in the back corner. Clem didn't quite clean it. Yeah, noticed it now. Meanwhile, Immortal's getting chased down. Charge Lot's forced to wrap all the way around the force fields. Another couple, but that Widowmine ends up hitting more Terran than Protoss. And the Stalker's blunking forward again. There's not that much bio underneath. The Widowmine's helping out a lot. But the Charge Lot's quite good against the Marauders en masse. There's just not the girth of bio units needed here to drive this back, and now the Immortal's stepping up to the plate. More units coming in. He pulls the boys, mules included. Just boxes them all and drags them into the fray. Auto turret comes in, picks off 3 more probes. But Clem is still knocking on the door. Has kept enough sentries alive to have built up energy for force field, maybe a Guardian shield. Gets another Marauder, manually targeting. There's an observer right at the back, so he had the right idea but the wrong execution. Still looking for it. Charge Lot's coming in. Zealots into the natural, really helping out. Colossi out the field. Colossus, rather. as the Marauders step up and try to knock it down, but that one Immortal was helping out so much. Dead now. Zealots in the natural, killing a dozen SCVs and counting. Spirit on the ropes. And right now he's slipping away from it. He can't quite fight the main army, and he can't quite fight the charge lots, as Clem keeps chewing away. Metaphorically, of course, as the Protoss don't have mouths, but 40 supply, and there's still charge lots cutting through. Spirit unable to contend with the pressure that Clem is putting on multiple fronts. Clem here, the one tearing him apart. Extended thermal lance nearly completed. Spirit not tapping out, as this is the final match. And there's still an opportunity, but with thermal lance done, +3 on the way, those margins are becoming remarkably thin. 2 Colossi, charge lots getting in front to absorb the damage. The Zealots are still in the natural. The first ghost dies. 12 more SCVs dead. And I don't think there's any stopping these continued reinforcements. GG. Clem takes out one of the best Terran players out there. Aside from Clem, of course. In quite a solid victory. His losses to the early game pressure, doing crippling damage, which, if you're not used to it as much, is not surprising, especially on maps you haven't played before. But a solid back and forth. Clem showing that this constantly aggressive, it felt like a blend of Hero and Max Pax there. Max Pax with his precision blink aggression, and Hero with his just send it mentality. So if Clem can combine the secret sauce of Protoss into someone who shows up to premier tournaments on a regular basis without choking half the time. Sorry, Hero. Well, something very interesting is happening. So hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully that counterbalances any sort of Terran versus Protoss we've seen lately out of Clem. But it can be done. They can be beaten, especially when you take the best Terran out of the equation. All right, you got the idea, and thank you for watching. Thank you to Hupsaiya and his dumpster cup for taking out the trash and showing it to us, as well as Patreon, or those of you who have supported this year on Patreon. I really appreciate it. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome to help out. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.